Hello to all of my BPTV fans, YouTube fans, Facebook fans. I'm Alan Levine, the Talking Machine. I'm doing my, believe it or not, my 49th Talking Machine show. And I have another great guest for you to listen to and find out more about her. I'm going to let her introduce herself. Will you please introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, I'm Bobby Reed.
Bobby, so glad you could make it. I remember when we met you about 10 minutes away in Upper St. Clair about 3 years ago.
Yes.
It was a great Kidney Foundation event, and I found out, and the topic of our show is your son, Alex Reed, a graduate of Penn State. I'll let you fill in the details. But first, I want to ask a couple questions because I like people to think that they can do things like you're doing or I'm doing because they're from this area.
Okay.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in the North Hills of Pittsburgh.
Where at? Because we're South Hills, and you know we're all separated
Well, I
like
grew up
this.
in Hampton Township.
I know where it is, and
Yes.
friends of mine have had kids that went to Hampton and
Right.
stuff.
And I didn't end up too far from the mold there because I live in McCandless now, right next to North Park.
Well, there
it's,
you go.
it's
I
real-
know where
real-
those
real
locations are,
close, real
and
close.
hopefully you do.
Yeah, find my way around.
Where did you go to school there?
I went to Hampton High School, and then once I graduated high school, I went to Indiana University of Pennsylvania.
My girlfriend who passed away graduated IUP, and I hung out with 20-some friends of hers over the years when she was alive. They bragged about IUP all the time, and they went there each year for
Yes.
parades.
Right.
So I understand what you're about.
Well, when I was there, I wanted to go into home economics.
Okay,
And,
why?
Well, because I like cooking and sewing kind of thing, growing up.
Domestic-like.
Yeah, right. But it ended up that my major was family consumer science from the School of Home
How do
Economics.
you even pick that?
It was really neat. If anybody, your listeners out there, remember Ralph Nader.
And our watchers, since we're on TV.
Right. Yeah, watchers, right. Remember Ralph Nader, he fought
I'm familiar with him,
fought
yes.
for consumer rights and how to complain effectively. So I went and did that. I majored in family consumer science, and my internship actually was with Allegheny County Bureau of Consumer Protection.
Wow.
For the rights to.
Great synchronicity.
Right, yeah, so to make sure that, you're being treated fairly. And I had a minor in business and economics. So it was a great tie-in to proceed on.
What a combo there.
Right. And from there I went to work at AT&T for over 20 years. And while I was at AT&T, I did work on dealing with businesses and international teleconferencing, selling people phone systems. I
Right.
did it over the phone and in person. So, and then from there, I migrated, once I had my two children, into our family insurance agency.
A boy or girl or both? Or
Two boys, and they're actually 14 months apart in age, so they're almost like twins, really.
You know what? This is crazy. I'm 14 months older than our second child,
Oh, yeah.
my daughter. I have 3 sisters. 4 of us were born in 5 years.
Right? Oh,
So my mother was a saint. May she rest in peace.
yeah.
But we're 14 months. I was born June 30th. She was born on Halloween.
Oh my, how?
So what a combination we've had. Glad we could interject that there, but carry on with you now.
Right.
We have a husband. You want to shout out to your husband?
Yeah, shout out to my husband. We call him Mike because we have all these Georges in the family. My husband's name is really George, and Alex's name is really George Alexander Reed.
Well, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, and his brother's name is Mike or Michael, and my husband, he took over his family's insurance agency.
Okay.
It's an Erie insurance agency located in
I
the North
support
Hills.
Erie out here.
Good, good. Well, we're right in the heart of the North Hills, right by the post office off of McKnight Road there.
I
on
know where
Secret
that's
Road.
at.
Yeah, and I am actually
What's the name of the agency? I don't mind promoting anybody.
George A. Reed Agency.
Okay, we got the George out, Mike.
Right, yeah, got it out. And they do life, business insurance, home, and automobile. And I'm actually, a lot of people don't know this, but I actually am a fully licensed insurance agent in the state of Pennsylvania. And I worked in the insurance agency for a number of years, and I still do from time to time, managing different things, their marketing. And I brought the information from a large corporation to a little business, a mom and pop business.
That is so interesting. I got a parallel story. I worked for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette in the production department for 36 years. April 1st, 1987, I got laid off. Guess what I started to do? I worked for Prudential because I had a Prudential agent, was a captive agent in Washington, had my
Okay.
own route and stuff I had to collect in the West End of Washington. I had all my degrees or all my licenses plus a Series 6 license to
Oh, I know
sell
what that is,
variable
yeah.
products.
Yeah, I know
So
what
I'm
that
not
is.
competing. I'm just sharing that
No,
I've
I
done
know
it
what
too.
it is. I don't have my Series 6, but I know what you're talking about.
I'm
Right.
not bragging, just saying. My son said I got to watch my bragging, but I've done things.
Yeah, so you're a little bit, but I
yes.
think that in like advocating for my son and so forth, those backgrounds, that particular background in sales and marketing and knowing insurance,
Especially
it
with
helps.
sales of insurance. Like I took different tests and I could have been all of these different things from a farmer to teacher, construction worker, you name it. And one said I could be in sales. Well, I've done sales over the years, home remodeling and other things too. But I wanted to do insurance because I had a choice then. I didn't know if I was permanently laid off or not from the Pittsburgh Press. They
Yeah.
never had layoffs, but 57 of us got laid off. So I figured I liked helping people, so why not sell insurance? So I sold auto, homeowners, life,
There
and,
you still, yeah, there you go.
all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I understand that. So this gets us to the point. Your son's going to Penn State,
Yes.
Alex.
He went to Penn State. That's
And
correct.
when did he graduate?
He graduated in 2013.
And then what happened after that? What did he graduate with? My daughter has
has-
3 degrees from
he has
Penn
two.
State. Okay.
He has a marketing degree and a business administration
How could he not
degree.
with a mother and father like you?
I know. Well, the intent was for him to graduate and come and work in our insurance agency.
I didn't want to presume that, but I guessed.
And mom and dad, they wanted to retire, you know, and he could take it over. But unfortunately, it didn't work out that way.
Yes.
While he was at Penn State, too, I should mention, he was a baseball player.
Nice.
And, on the Penn State Altoona baseball team. And he was there for like 5 years.
That is great.
And
what position did he play?
he was a pitcher. He was
So
a
was
baseball
I,
pitcher.
back
Were you
in my
really?
day, yeah.
Oh, wow, cool. But he loves baseball. And he had an affiliation,
That's
with
my
those
first
players.
love in sports, baseball.
Right. He enjoyed that a great deal. 2 weeks, though, after he graduated, for some unknown reason, he got really, really high blood pressure. So much.
This came out of nowhere.
It came out of nowhere.
Any heart disease in your family?
No, there was no issues, and we don't have blood pressure issues like he had. His
Right.
blood pressure was so high, it ended him up in the intensive care unit at Passavant for 10 days, and they thought he
That
was
is
going to.
horrific.
They thought he was going
How
to
old
die.
was he at the time?
22.
That's-
22 years old.
That's unbelievable.
And it ended up down the road like they told him when he got out of the hospital that his kidney function was slightly impaired, but they
Yeah.
were going to follow him throughout, going forward. Here's a blood pressure pill to take to control your blood pressure because there were still
Right.
issues with that, and they felt because of his athleticism that it would come
He would
back.
get better.
It would get better. Well, that was like the end of June maybe. By the time
Well, he just graduated,
Right,
yes.
right. By the time October rolled around, he was in end-stage renal failure. Both of his kidneys were completely killed. And we were told by the nephrologist at that time, well, your kidney function didn't come back. You need to prepare to go on dialysis. And you need to start looking for a donor, like a living donor, preferably
Well, they
because you're
asked
so
that
young.
first, yeah.
You're so young. So we did do that.
And he went on dialysis.
Well, yes, had a very, very good kidney educator that told
That
him the
means so
different.
much.
Yeah, that told him the different options that he had. That he
You
got
could
to
do
make
it in
the choice.
doctors in the hospital, or you could do it at home.
You could do it in a clinic, or you could
Yeah.
do it at home, and there was different methods even of doing it at home too.
Exactly.
But he was educated, and he was the patient was the one that made the decision on that.
And that's great. They offered that to me, but my kidney function, because my son gave me a great kidney, I was blessed
Right.
that he was a perfect match.
Wow, that's wonderful.
And because you don't hear it all the time. And that's why it's perfect with me. He was 28 years old when he gave me my kidney, and knock on wood, I'm doing great.
Well, we tried doing that. First of all, getting on the transplant wait list was really difficult for us because, well, first of all, they had to know, the doctors had to know what caused this blood pressure because people do not, normally kidney disease is a long drawn out process. It slowly declines and you can
Let me
take care
interrupt
of
you.
it. Yeah.
I have heart disease in my family, but I don't have heart disease. and I don't have diabetes, they didn't know what caused my heart disease.
Did they ever find out?
Never.
Oh, wow. Well, with my husband.
So I'm an anomaly too. What happened with Alex?
With Alex, they even went back to the NCAA because to play sports, you have to be cleared medically. And no, first of all, they did not do kidney testing, urine test or whatever like
Well,
that.
the blood test helps.
Well, they didn't do that when he was in college for that clearance. And there was no evidence of high blood pressure then either. So
Because it would show up with high blood pressure. Like, I have high blood pressure, but mine's treated by a couple meds because they got to watch, because of my one kidney, what they can give me. Certain blood pressure medicines could cause problems with your kidney.
they couldn't figure it out. So the doctors then said, we're still not going to let you on the list yet. We had to go through genetic testing. And he went through genetic testing, not once, because they didn't believe the results when they came back one time. We had to go to a second lab. And it's not like on TV, like on NCIS, when they come back and say in 60 minutes they've resolved the case. It took 3 months each time those tests had to be done. So it took him 6 months to get onto the list.
That's unreal for somebody that kidneys are dead.
Right, and people can't really be evaluated for being a donor until you're actually waitlisted. So that delayed us in our search. The other thing that happened too is it was identified that people, you mentioned your family member gave you a kid, was a perfect
my
match.
son.
With us, it was identified that we had a genetic blood clot factor. It came from me, it
Oh,
came
my
from my
goodness.
family. So that would mean
That
even
ruled you out.
everybody on my side of the family, even his brother, 14 months different in age.
Right.
We all had the same blood type, and I thought, perfect. We all have the
Well,
same
I'm
conditions.
O positive, but so that's universal for everybody.
Right,
they
that's
say.
universal. But we were all A, and
Yeah.
but they said
That's
because
a shame. That's
because
shocking.
of this genetic factor, even though it was a minor one, it was it would put
Well,
the
any
donor
risk, any risk, they cut you out.
Exactly.
I learned that.
Yes.
Look what you've learned from what you were educated on, what you were doing in your career. Look what you had to learn, like I did, after the fact of getting stage 4 renal failure for me.
Right. Well, he decided on doing home hemodialysis, and he, stuck himself and does it all like that.
Right.
And he
Is it an overnight process?
no, he can pick and choose. He has to do it 4 days a week,
Right, I've heard that.
and he can pick what time of day. It's just 4 days a week that he has to do it.
How many hours?
About 4 hours it takes him to do it, and he has an iPad. He doesn't have to do paper sheets or anything. Everything
That's
is
great.
Wi-Fi but now it is.
Well, the
Before-
Bluetooth and everything,
Before
yeah.
it was not that way. When he first did it, he had to do paper flow sheets. But he did that. As soon as he got on the wait list, what I did, I was his care partner to help him with his dialysis.
Right.
And as soon as he got on the wait list, with my sales and marketing background,
Right. You're a go-getter.
right, I wrote a marketing plan for my son to sell somebody on giving him a kidney.
Well, sure, that's a process you got to go to. We're both trained in sales.
Right.
Prudential taught me the best training program ever. They brainwashed me that after 100 calls, I believe the next one would be a sale.
Right, it's a numbers game.
And I believe
Yeah.
that.
So I wrote this marketing plan, and it worked.
How did you write it, and what did you put in there?
Well,
Because I'm
what I did-
interested.
So many people who are on dialysis and need a kidney don't know how to ask, and they're afraid to ask, and they don't like talking about it.
Sure.
So my plan was based on the consensus that you only have to ask one time and then let everybody else do the work for you.
Great plan.
I know.
I like it.
I know.
Bobby, that is
I asked
fantastic.
one time, so the
You
first
kept it simple,
Right.
like I talk about. Go by the KISS method.
Exactly, and you have to realize too, you don't have to do everything all at one time. If you stagger it out, do you remember the old days when you get all those magazines in the mail, and
I
eventually,
ordered a bunch.
you're going to buy something out of those. They figure if they kept sending them to you, well, if you keep gradually getting it in front of somebody, eventually somebody is going to bite and partake of that.
Well, they used to say like 5 times.
Yeah.
Now I heard it's like 23 times.
Well, in sales too, one of the things that they teach you is the person you can ask 3 times, and they have to say no 3 times before you give up and move on to the next thing. But that is
Prudential
another.
taught me that. Yes,
That's another
I
concept.
took it to 5.
Yeah, well, that's another concept to do it that way. But anyway, what we
We're
did.
talking about getting a kidney to
Right,
save
we're
your
talking
son's
about.
life.
So what I did is I made a list of all of our affiliations. For example, my late father-in-law was a Pittsburgh firefighter.
Wow.
I went to the firefighters
That's a strong union. there.
union, and they helped us. They did stuff. I went to our Chamber of Commerce because my husband's
Another
business
great-
belongs to the Chamber of Commerce.
I know the North Hills Chamber of Commerce
Yeah,
people.
exactly.
I've been at a couple events they have.
Exactly.
Very great.
Right, and then I went to our high schools and our colleges and universities.
Well,
And-
Penn State has
Penn
the
State,
largest
right.
alumni group in the country.
Well, what they did is they did an article about Alex's need to
I
have
read
a
it.
kidney.
You gave it to
Right.
me. I saw it. It was a great article.
And they published it. You never know who's looking.
Right.
And anytime anybody did anything for me, I always thank them publicly and also in writing, like with a little card or a
Little
note.
private notes
right.
the best.
Right. But I
Look
did.
what we learned.
I put it on Facebook or social media saying, look what this person did. They were so helpful trying to help my son find a kidney, just to re-get it out there again and ask people to
Recycle it,
recycle
yeah.
it and share it. Plus it was helping that business or that person or entity that helped us. And by doing that, a person in New Jersey saw this. He saw the article in
The Penn
the
State.
Penn State thing. He was also an alumni of Penn State. This
Now, to
gentleman.
interrupt you, when my daughter went to school, me being in the newspaper business,
Right.
she goes, Dad, you know how you said the young people aren't reading papers? They all read the Penn State paper
Right.
when it comes out.
And it
She
goes
goes,
in
we're
there.
all reading it in our rooms. I
Right.
said, I'm glad to hear it. We are. Penn
Yeah,
State.
it was in there. Well, he saw it
but
come
now
out.
I know how
on-
popular
yeah.
that paper is.
He saw it, and he is a 57-year-old man from New Jersey who we did not know, and he came to Pittsburgh and was evaluated, and they told him that, he would be a match for my son, except he had to lose 30 pounds.
Right.
Okay, he was
Well,
overweight.
they do have, different
Guidelines.
criteria for
Yeah.
that. Like my son had to go through that psychologically,
Right.
weight-wise, and everything else.
The donor goes through every single test that the recipient goes through, so that they're
Exactly.
sure that they're completely healthy. And by the way, too, that testing is not any bill or anything to the prospective donor. The person who receives the kidneys insurance picks that all up. So it's,
That's a great point.
yeah.
If you donate, there won't be any cost of you donating.
Right.
Just your time and your kidney. And you recover. My son was healed up in 3 days. In 2 weeks, he could go back to work.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a quick recovery for my son. And he's doing excellent. Actually, it's 3.5 years for me.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
I'm doing great, and so is
so
my
is he.
son. We're truly blessed.
Well, Alex's donor is doing perfectly fine too. He saw
Mention
that
his name.
John Hyde from
That is
New
great.
Jersey, and what he did is he kept.
Class is 84.
Yeah, I think so.
I read that
you
just
read
this
that.
morning.
I didn't. Yeah.
I
yeah.
wanted to go over it again.
Yeah. So what happened was.
Because I'm proud of him and honored
Mm-hmm.
that he was able to do that and wanted to.
well, what
And
he
lost weight on top of it.
It took him 6 months to lose the 30 pounds, and he kept seeing all these posts. Remember, I told you gradually, and mentally, that was his driving force to know that he wanted to do this.
You inspired him.
He wanted to give back. No, we didn't know any of this was going on. So what he did is he lost the weight. He came back to Pittsburgh. They gave him the approval. He went back to New Jersey, and he called his son up, who played baseball for 1 year with my son on the baseball
What a
team.
small world.
And he said, do you remember that Alex Reed kid? He goes, yeah. He says, well, you keep in touch with him, don't you? He goes, yeah. He said, why don't you invite him up to our tailgate party next week? And while you're at it, you know some of them other baseball players too, don't you? He goes, yeah. He says, well, tell them to come up too. So we worked Alex's dialysis.
I like his plan.
Yeah. So we worked his dialysis around that, and I let him go. He went up to Penn State. The game was at noon, so the tailgate party started at 7 in the morning.
I was at one up there, and their tailgates are.
Are
I should have went to
unbelievable.
more.
Right, they're fantastic.
Yeah,
So
I did it her senior year, so I saw that.
He went on his own. He stepped up to the grill, and the guy behind the grill said, "Alex, I'm glad you can make it today." He said, "What can I get for you?" And he said, "Well, I'll take a breakfast sandwich." And he said, "Is that all you want?" He goes, "Uh-huh." He says, "I thought you wanted a kidney." And he's, my son is like very shy.
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, yeah, I do need to get a kidney. I'm on dialysis." And he says, "Well, I'll tell you what, I'm giving you my kidney. Here's the approval. When do you want it? In the middle of a field at 7 o'clock in the
What
morning.
a story. Can you believe this, people watching this?
I know.
God is great.
My son, being the great conversationalist he isn't,
Yes.
he says, wow. He says, thanks. Can I call my mom? So he calls me at 7 in the morning, and what would you think? The phone rings, you sent your
Something's
son
wrong.
off, you know, right.
Especially with his health. I'd be
Exactly.
like, I'll be there.
Exactly. I said, what's wrong? He goes, Mom. I said, what? He says, Mr. Hyde's giving me his kidney. Do you want to talk to him?
Did you get up off the floor?
I was laying in bed at the time, so that was probably a good sign.
Yeah.
And I did, and it was true. And that was on September 12th, 2015.
Wow.
Okay. And
That's a day before my surgery, September 13th, 2019. It was a lucky
really?
Friday. It was
Oh,
Friday
wow.
the 13th, our lucky day.
isn't that something? So it's something for you to remember.
Yeah, that's why with my
Yeah.
guests, I know I butt in a lot, folks, so we have common
Yeah, we do.
connections here.
Isn't it amazing, like how things overlap? I think
No,
I think it
is.
really is.
And I'm trying to inspire others to donate a kidney for Alex.
Right.
Like Mr. Hyde did. And look at how others want to, and it's out there in front of thousands of people every Tuesday night on my live Pittsburgh Sportsline show. We have a little promo
Right.
and where to call and do things like that. Do you want to get into what we can do to get this kidney for Alex?
Right. Well, we do.
I didn't want to cut you short.
No.
But that's a great story to there. And let me just bring it up to what happened. So what happened that now he needs another kidney?
He got his kidney transplant on November 9th, 2015. John came to the hospital, and 18 hours later, he walked out of the hospital. He was
Right.
not even in the hospital 24 hours and gave somebody a kidney.
That is
I
incredible.
know. And then he went back to doing his regular routine in a matter of a couple weeks. Anyway, there was a little bit of an adjustment for Alex to go on after receiving the kidney.
Sure.
But it lasted him 7 good years. He had his life back. He was actually working part-time in our insurance office.
I was
But,
going to ask, how's he doing at the business?
but-
Because he's not a talker.
Right. Well, we had him doing different things there as well.
There's business to do.
There's a lot of other things behind the scenes, as you well know.
Yes, I do.
Yes, but
And paperwork galore and computers and whatever else.
but he worked there part-time, but he had some bumps in the road along the way.
What happened?
Well, COVID hit, and
Well, we know that.
he still had the issues with the blood pressure. To this day, the doctors really aren't certain what caused it. They think that maybe because the Christmas before he graduated from college,
Yeah.
he had the flu really bad. He thought he was invincible and didn't bother to get a flu shot that year.
Yeah.
And they
Now he
think,
knows better.
Now he knows better, but they think that the flu triggered something in his body and it turned it on.
Strange things happen
Yeah.
the more you hear these things. Like me, my blood pressure, they had me on one pill or so. After the first week or two, my blood pressure was going up to 180 over 130.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So they had to
really-
give me a second
Right.
pill, and twice a day I take 2 blood pressure medicines. I'm down around 120 over 80 now. It does go up a little. When it hits 130, they go, don't worry.
Well,
So I have some variance with me, and they don't know why it's going on.
Well, Alex experienced some issues. He got donor cell rejection, and they had to treat him with plasmapheresis. COVID hit, and he ended up with pneumonia, although I think he really had COVID, but he ended up with pneumonia. But all those things contributed to the decline in his kidney function until probably last September, when we knew for sure that that kidney was failing him.
You're kidding.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
my.
we had a little
That's
bit of a heads
terrible.
up. Yeah, he was evaluated right then and there in September, and he actually was placed on the list, but inactive because his kidney function was just a little bit over the limit to actually be activated.
Yeah, like-
now he is active,
Right.
and we're looking actively to find him a donor. He is registered.
We need a kidney for Alex now.
He's
if you
registered-
even think about it, just make a call. Where should they call?
I would recommend to get a bunch of information on being a donor to contact the Kidney Solutions Organization.
Okay, that's what I promote on
Right.
my show. So
The
tell
phone
them
number
that
there.
number. So
I believe it's 830-285-2140.
and if not, we'll insert it in here. Nick
Yeah,
will put
right.
it
Make
in here.
sure that it's
It'll
right.
be up. But I just wanted
yeah.
you to say what the number
And
is.
they have all the information on Alex, and even direct dial numbers to the donor coordinator. We're registered at UPMC Starzl here in Pittsburgh.
and they're great there.
Right. So, but they the Kidney Solutions people can talk to you and answer questions that often the donor does have.
And you'll need it, and they'll put you at ease.
Yes.
Because it's not a hard process to go once you qualify for it and get the blood test, and you know, they test you and your physicality and everything.
Right.
So they just know what parameters they need.
Exactly. And there is also other places that you can go and look and get information on Alex. We've had a microsite set up. And what a microsite is, it's sort of like a link, and it gives a picture of him. There's a video of me and Alex being interviewed on there. It gives a brief synopsis of his story. It gives links to UPMC as well as the information to call Kidney Solutions.
I want to get a kidney for Alex. Please donate. It's a great thing to do. You're all heroes that do it. I've met friends and other people that have donated kidneys like Mr. Hyde did for Alex.
Right.
So you have your opportunity to do it. And we got a few minutes to go. What other things would you like to put out there, Bobby? Because you've covered a bunch of stuff. So now we're in the process that you can apply and call and see if you're a match for Alex.
Right, and I think that I'd like to help other people at the same time.
Well, this is what we're about and why I have you on, because you do a lot of things with legislation and meeting other people, and the local Western Pennsylvania Kidney Foundation of here in West Virginia.
Yes.
You do a lot of things with them.
All the kidney organizations.
Yes. But our local one here, I just want them to get some credit.
The National Kidney Foundation serving the Alleghenies. They're here in Pittsburgh. They're a great resource for you to contact. As a matter of fact, they recently did, and you have access to this. Remember I mentioned the marketing plan that I wrote?
Yes, I do.
The National Kidney Foundation took note of that marketing plan, and they turned it into...
They use it, right?
They use it. They have a program called the Big Ask.
She's a superstar, but she won't let me say it.
The Big Ask.
Bobby's the superstar. Go ahead.
The Big Ask, Big Give. And if you do a Google search with that online...
Big Ask,
Big
Give. Got to watch the Ask.
And it's free, and it's an online program that you can do, and sometimes it's offered in person at different places. But it will teach you the steps that I went through to find a donor the first time through, and that I'm exploring right now to find a second donor.
Number two's the winner here.
Number two's the winner. So that would be a really good help to people, and the National Kidney Foundation is your resource for that.
And they're great people down there. Erin in charge is one of the best. She runs great events. I'm on their committee for their biggest fundraiser each year in March. And it was just a great event this year, honoring people and donors and people that received kidneys.
Right. There's other organizations out there too that I found as a great resource. The American Kidney Fund. They can help you and your donor in securing funds to enable them to come and donate or help you pay your insurance costs if you can't afford them, because a lot of times when you're sick, you can't work, you don't have insurance, but they can help you doing that, the American Kidney Fund.
No, that's great. Anything else you have? Because this is your time to shine on how else you can help others that have chronic kidney disease. 1 out of 3 Americans like me had no symptoms. I had no symptoms. I went for a physical. Thank God they did the blood test, and thank God my kids forced me to go at 60 and get my physical that year. My kidneys were functioning at 15%. They said if I didn't go to a nephrologist, I could die.
Right. Well, a lot of times too, people
scary.
Don't realize this. When you go see your doctor at your visit, you have to ask him, would you check my kidney function? Because they're not required to do that as part of the normal exam. And it's a simple blood test or a urine test that could show up, kidney impairment. So you need to do that. The American Association of Kidney Patients provides information too to patients, to help them navigating kidney disease.
Sure.
For example, they have great recipe cards. Did you know that diabetes is a major lead-in cause to kidney disease?
Heart disease, diabetes, and I know that. We're going to have to close this down. Any final closing words?
No, just spread the word that Alex needs a kidney and try and help us, get people out there to be tested to see if they're a match for him. I'd really appreciate that.
And I approve this message and everything Bobby said. I can co-sign it and whatever you want. If you have the urge, find out more and help Alex. Thank all of you for watching the shows, and my next show will be up in a couple weeks. So you take care until the next show. It'll be my 50th show at the end of the month. Thanks again.